Every smart man has been lied to, not by a woman, but by a belief. The belief that if you open up, stay patient, support her dreams, and shrink your own, she'll love you more. Let me say this clearly. That belief is killing your masculine power, and no one warned you because it sounds noble. These are 9 things smart men are praised for doing. But if you keep doing them, you won't just lose her, you'll lose yourself. Before we dive into these 9 silent traps, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a like, especially if you've ever done something you thought was right, only to feel emptier after. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I want to know how far this message is reaching, because too many good men are falling for the wrong lessons about love. Your comment might be the wake-up call another man needs to see. Now let's get back to the story, because what you're about to hear isn't just a list, it's a reality check every strong man needs before he gets played again. Thing number 1, oversharing your past. Because here's what no one tells you. Vulnerability is powerful, but premature vulnerability, that's emotional suicide. Smart men, especially those who've done the work, tend to think, if I open up first, I'll create trust. If I tell her about my failures, my traumas, my exes, she'll feel safe. But here's the trap. You think you're deepening the connection. In reality, you're handing over weapons she hasn't earned the right to hold. And not every woman is malicious. Some won't use it against you, but they will see you differently. That strong man energy you worked so hard to build, it dilutes fast when you volunteer your scars too early. Women don't bond like men. They don't hear your past and think, wow, he's brave. They think, why is he telling me all this so soon? Or worse, I'm not sure I respect him the same. And no, this isn't about hiding. It's about protecting your frame. Your story is valuable, not because it's dramatic, but because it's personal. And personal doesn't mean public. If you're the type of man who's been through hell and back, she should feel that in how you move, not in a 2-hour trauma dump over wine. The harsh truth, what you share during a moment of intimacy can become ammunition during a moment of anger. Even a good woman can resent the man who bleeds too soon. So here's the shift. Stop trying to prove you're trustworthy by oversharing. Let your consistency do that. Open up slowly, over time, when her actions show she can handle it, not when your emotions scream to be seen. Because mystery isn't about being distant, it's about being selective. And if your past shaped the man you are now, then let her earn the right to meet him piece by piece. Thing number 2, fearing being alone. This fear doesn't look like fear. It looks like loyalty, like patience, like trying to make it work. But deep down, it's desperation dressed as devotion. Smart men rarely admit they're afraid of solitude. They'll say they're problem solvers, that they don't give up easily. But here's the truth. A man who's terrified of silence will cling to noise, even when it's toxic. He'll tolerate disrespect. He'll explain away the coldness. He'll rationalize the emotional roller coaster, just so he doesn't have to face Friday night alone. And that's the tragedy. You could be powerful, respected, even admired, but still be emotionally dependent on a woman's presence to feel like a man. Here's what you need to understand. Women can feel when you fear being alone. It changes how they see you. You're no longer the man she has to earn. You're the man who's afraid to leave. And once she knows you'll stay no matter how she acts, you lose leverage. You lose mystery. You lose her respect. Because a man who can't be alone is a man who can't choose. He can't choose her freely. He needs her. And that need turns attraction into pressure. So what's the strategy? Stop running from the quiet. Start building a life that feels full without her. Be the man who enjoys his own company, who can sit with his own thoughts, who doesn't fear an empty room, because he's too busy building an empire inside it. When you master solitude, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop tolerating crumbs. You stop chasing people who confuse attention with love. And paradoxically, when you no longer fear being alone, that's when you attract someone who actually deserves to stay. Thing number 3, wasting your time on uncertainty. Smart men don't waste time on video games or gossip. They waste time overthinking a woman's mixed signals. They waste weekends trying to figure things out. They waste months in almost relationships with women who keep them in limbo. Why? Because uncertainty feels like a challenge. And high-performing men hate leaving problems unsolved. So instead of walking away, they double down. They invest more. They think, if I'm patient enough, consistent enough, strong enough, she'll choose me. But here's the truth. If a woman is uncertain about you, that is the answer. You're just too emotionally invested to accept it. Time is your most expensive currency. And relationships built on ambiguity are the fastest way to go bankrupt, emotionally, mentally, even physically. While you're canceling plans, replaying conversations, and losing sleep, she's weighing her options. You're making her a priority. She's making you a placeholder. And let's be honest, the men who waste the most time aren't weak. They're hopeful. They're attached to a fantasy of who she could become. They're addicted to potential. But here's what real power looks like. It's not chasing clarity. It's demanding it. It's being willing to walk away from what feels good now for what aligns long term. You're not here to audition. You're not here to win her over. You're here to build something real with someone who's sure about you. So from now on, make this your standard. If she's unsure, you're unavailable. If she's inconsistent, you're uninterested. If she needs time to decide, give her all the time in the world, just not while you're waiting. Because the longer you entertain confusion, the further you drift from conviction. And in love, just like in life, you don't rise by wasting time. You rise by protecting it. Thing number 4, hiding your success. Somewhere along the way, smart men started believing this lie. If I shine too bright, I'll scare her off. If I talk about my achievements, she'll feel insecure. So they dim their light. They soften their ambition. They pretend to be more normal, just to be liked. But here's the reality. Hiding your success doesn't make you humble. It makes you smaller. And no woman is inspired by a man who shrinks himself to feel safe. You built your career from scratch. You survived setbacks. You pushed through doubt when no one clapped. That's not arrogance. That's earned pride. And if she's uncomfortable with your success, she's not your partner. She's your anchor. Smart men downplay themselves to appear more relatable. But the truth is, a woman who's right for you doesn't need you to play small. She needs you to lead, to inspire, to walk in your purpose without apology. When you pretend to be less, you invite less. Less respect, less attraction, less alignment. Here's what most men miss. Your success isn't intimidating. Your insecurity about it is. When you act like your accomplishments are no big deal, you teach her to treat them the same way. So stop filtering your story. Stop apologizing for being ahead. You're not supposed to blend in. You're supposed to stand out. And if she truly belongs in your life, she won't compete with your drive. She'll complement it. She'll challenge you to go further, not flatter you for staying still. You didn't build your life to impress a woman, but the right woman will be impressed anyway, not by what you have, but by how you carry it. So walk like a man who's proud of where he came from, not one who's afraid it'll scare someone off. Thing number 5, sacrificing your mental health. No one talks about this because men are trained to tolerate chaos in silence, to be the rock, the provider, the emotional anchor, even when the storm is slowly drowning them. Smart men especially fall into this trap. They think, if I'm strong enough, I can handle her moods. If I'm patient, things will calm down. If I love her enough, she'll change. But here's the truth. When you consistently prioritize her happiness over your peace, you don't look strong. You look lost. You're not leading. You're absorbing. You're not protecting the relationship. You're abandoning yourself. Mental health isn't just about anxiety or depression. It's about clarity. It's about peace. It's about waking up in the morning and not dreading who you've become inside that relationship. And yet, so many men stay in chaos, in disrespect, in emotional whiplash, because they confuse love with endurance. But let me ask you this. What's the point of a relationship if it empties you? If it makes you question your worth every other day? If it has you second-guessing your words, your tone, your very identity? That's not love. That's emotional warfare disguised as passion. So what's the move? Draw the line. Not with shouting, but with standards. Not with threats, but with distance. You can't build anything stable when your mind is burning down. You can't lead when your clarity is clouded. And you sure as hell can't love properly when your nervous system is in survival mode. The right woman won't just love your heart. She'll protect your peace. She'll regulate her chaos, not make it yours to manage. So the next time your gut tells you something's off, don't ignore it to keep the peace. Because if your peace is the price, you're already paying too much. Thing number 6, betraying your identity to please her. At first, it seems harmless. You change your opinion to avoid an argument. You start liking what she likes. You laugh at things that aren't funny. You nod along when she's wrong because it's not worth the fight. But here's the slippery slope. The more you bend, the more you break. Until one day, you don't recognize yourself, and she doesn't respect you either. Smart men betray themselves slowly. They think, if I adapt, she'll feel loved. If I agree more, we'll fight less. If I change a little, she'll stay longer. But let me be clear, authenticity isn't negotiable. It's not a luxury. It's your backbone. And the moment you start molding your identity to fit her expectations, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. You stop being a man she chose and become a character she controls. Here's the real problem. Women test men all the time. Not because they're manipulative, but because they want to feel your spine. They want to know where you stand, so they know whether to lean on you or walk all over you. If your boundaries shift every time she pouts, if your voice fades every time she challenges it, she'll stop looking at you like a man and start looking at you like a mirror that reflects her moods. The right woman doesn't want a man who agrees with everything. She wants a man who stands for something, who can hold his own frame, who can love her fully without losing himself in the process. So stop diluting your truth just to keep the peace. Start speaking it, calmly, firmly, without apology. Because the more real you are, the more power you hold. And in a world full of men trying to impress, the rarest thing is a man who dares to be himself and stays that way. Thing number 7, abandoning your mission for her. This one cuts deep because it's disguised as love. You're working too much. Can't you just be more present? Why does everything have to be about your goals? So you pull back. You pause the business idea. You skip the gym. You stop dreaming so loudly because you don't want her to feel like she's not enough. But here's the hard truth. When a man gives up his mission to prioritize a relationship, he doesn't become more lovable. He becomes resentful and eventually less respected. Your mission isn't a hobby. It's your fire. It's what sharpens you, disciplines you, gives your life direction. It's where your masculine energy is forged, through struggle, purpose, pursuit. When you abandon it for her comfort, you kill the very energy that attracted her in the first place. I've seen brilliant men throw away momentum for a woman who was just passing through. They convinced themselves it was compromise. But compromise without alignment is just self-sacrifice wearing a fake smile. And what happens next? She loses attraction, not because you failed, but because you stopped being the man who had something bigger than her driving him. The paradox? When you make her the mission, you become a burden. When you stay on your mission, you become magnetic. A woman doesn't need to be your purpose. She wants to witness it, to walk beside it, to feel inspired by it, not replace it. So what's the move? Stay locked in, invite her in, but never derail for her. If she's aligned, she'll adjust. If she's not, she'll exit. And that's clarity, not loss. You weren't born to orbit around someone else's world. You were made to build your own and let the right one walk into it, not become it. Thing number 8, neglecting your inner circle. You meet someone new, things get intense, and suddenly your boys don't hear from you. Your family sees you less. Your world shrinks to fit one person. It feels romantic, like devotion, like giving her your full focus. But what you're actually doing is weakening your foundation. Smart men don't notice it at first. They think, she needs time. We're just building something serious. I'll reconnect with everyone later. But here's the truth. Every time you skip that phone call with your brother, miss that dinner with your parents, ignore that text from a lifelong friend, you're burning bridges that once held you up. And if the relationship crashes, you fall, with no net underneath. Here's what most men forget. Your inner circle is more than a support system. It's your mirror, your anchor, your reminder of who you were before love confused you. When you abandon them for romance, you lose your balance. And a man without balance is easy to control. Worse, a partner who encourages this isolation isn't building intimacy. She's building dependency. She wants your whole world to orbit her, so that when she pulls away, your whole world collapses. But even when she's not manipulative, even in good relationships, neglecting your circle still costs you your center. So what's the correction? Keep showing up for your people, for your tribe, for your roots. The woman meant to be in your life will never ask you to trade your history for her comfort. She'll respect the men who shaped you. She'll appreciate the family that raised you. She'll add to your life, not ask you to subtract from it. Because a strong man knows love is part of your life, not the replacement for the rest of it. Thing number 9, becoming emotionally dependent. This is where most smart men fall, not because they're weak, but because they made her their emotional center. At first, it feels like love. You're constantly texting. You wait for her replies. Your day rises and falls with her moods. But behind the butterflies is a dangerous truth. You've made her your regulator, your mirror, your lifeline. Now she pulls back. You panic. She gets distant. You chase. She's cold. You question yourself. And just like that, the confident, self-assured man becomes a version of himself he doesn't recognize. Needy, anxious, reactive. Emotional dependency is subtle. It sounds like, I just want us to be okay. I hate when we're not connected. She's my peace. But real peace doesn't live in another person. It lives in your ability to be centered, even when they're not. When you give her the keys to your emotional stability, you turn love into survival. Every argument feels like a threat. Every silence feels like abandonment. You stop being her equal and start being her echo. So what's the shift? Build a life that fulfills you without her applause. Create habits, routines, rituals that regulate you, not her voice. Surround yourself with people who ground you, not one person who defines you. The truth? No woman wants to carry your emotional weight, especially the kind of woman worth keeping. She wants to meet you whole, not heal you, not save you, not complete you. And when you show up that way, stable, sovereign, self-led, she relaxes into her feminine. Because she knows you won't collapse if she steps back for a moment. So stop outsourcing your center. Start owning it. Because a man who controls his emotions controls the room, the relationship, and ultimately his own destiny. You've just heard the 9 things smart men should never do with women. Not because these things are inherently wrong, but because they slowly drain you of what makes you powerful. Oversharing, fearing solitude, wasting time on uncertainty, hiding your brilliance, sacrificing your peace, betraying your identity, dropping your mission, neglecting your tribe, and becoming emotionally dependent. Each one of these feels like love when you're in it. That's the trap. No man ruins his life in one big moment. He does it slowly, by making small compromises that feel noble at first, until they turn into self-abandonment. But now you see it, and that's power. Because this isn't about blaming women. It's about reclaiming you, your center, your direction, your standards. The truth is, most men don't lose women because they weren't enough. They lose them because they stopped being who they were before her. The grounded, mission-driven, emotionally composed man that drew her in slowly gets replaced by the man who bends to keep her, and women can feel that. So, here's your reminder. You don't win by giving more. You win by knowing what not to give up. Never trade your purpose for approval. Never trade your peace for chaos. Never trade your truth for temporary closeness. Because the right woman won't ask you to do any of that. She'll respect the man who respects himself, who protects his values, and who knows that love isn't about losing yourself. It's about expanding with someone who actually sees you. So if you found yourself in any of these 9 things, good. That means you're honest. Now be brave enough to stop repeating them. And if you know a man who needs to hear this, send this video his way. You might just be the reason he doesn't make the same mistakes. Leave a comment. Which thing hit you the hardest? And what are you going to do about it? Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning of what every high-value man needs to know. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and never, ever forget who you are.